League of Legends now that we have the second draft
Yay!
on our screen. Already, Cassiopeia, Ezreal have hit the ban tables from ThunderTalk side, and Anyone's Legend recognizing, hey, Vi and Poppy are pretty good champions to take away from Junhao going into this third game. Shen also hitting the tables, and if you ban those two champions, AL setting up Tarzan for success with that Neferi now that neither of those two junglers that are common answers into the dog can be used.
That is crazy. We're taking Ashe Seraphine blind already. This has just been now a reoccurring thing saying, hey, if you're going to play with Varus already taken off, with Lucian taken, we're just going to play an aggressive bottom lane. We're going to play Ziggs Camille. I think this is very dangerous, especially just the fact that Ashe gives you so much information, and now you give over the Pantheon. I'm expecting Ryze to get banned here. Ryze has been the best pairing with Neferi ever since the nerfs to Annie a couple of patches ago, and just allows for so much map movement. I think he is going to be the next prioritized mid if he's not already taken off in the bans here.
I have once again been Nocturne ulted. I'm working on it.
Completely fine.
But at the very least, I think one of the things that you should be banned away... Oh, okay, yeah. I see the Sylas ban. I was about to say, Seraphine Encore and Ashe Arrow.
Yeah, we saw Kael earlier today. Just, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that is a definitive Shanks champion. AL might be trying to set up a Gnar blind pick for Breathe with that Vayne ban. Could potentially look at another ranged counter pick that would make Gnar's life pretty miserable, or something like the Yorick if Keshi has shown any prowess on it recently. Whereas ThunderTalk, if they want to continue down the list of mid lane bans, another power pick might be something like the Rise to help set up for that Neferi, but also Annie, a classic staple that goes along with that Neferi in many combos in history.
So AL are going to ban, and then ThunderTalk get first choice here? No, because AL had first pick, so they're going to be able to pick after their ban here. No, it is. Okay, ThunderTalk just get to pick here. Okay. Please pick Rise. I'm begging you. You have a side lane that you can play for versus the Camille and the Ziggs. You can set up a counter pick so that Keshi does not get abused. He's been one of the laners that I'm the most worried about when we're talking about playing against top level competition. And while Breathe hasn't necessarily been a amazing player, I expect that if he's given counter, he is going to have something to play against. And I just think when you are a team that doesn't have all of the coordination, champions like Ryze and Pantheon are just cheat codes. You get to be all over the map, you get to kill somebody, recall, and then cheat across the map with your ultimates.
Curious if this will be a Galio slam. No! Twisted Fate. Okay. Well, the Twisted Fate can work nicely with the Neferi and Camille as a roaming death squad. The problem is, there is no real front line for Anyone's Legend.
That is true. Jax is pretty disgusting. Ryze is going to hit 2 items and be unkillable. And it's going to be a race between our mid laners. Which side lane can we run to first? Can we attack this Jax in the sides? Can we run towards bottom lane with Ziggs, Camille, and the Fury Twisted Fate and take down this Ashe Seraphine? I think it's really tough for AL to play these side lanes. Usually you want Twisted Fate with really, really volatile lanes to play around and try to gank. I think we're going to be visiting top lane a lot here in this game, so watching the early lane, seeing how they trade their HP to get onto mini waves, especially for Keshi, is going to dictate a lot of how either of these teams are going to be able to battle out. And you have so many map hacks just with Junhao, Heru, and on.
Yeah, even with the Twisted Fate Destiny that can port you over to a side lane in a short matter of time. Like you said, ThunderTalk have ways to answer against it. And I almost feel like the Twisted Fate was more of a knee-jerk reaction to how many global tools that ThunderTalk have at their disposal. I know that Galio potentially could have been another angle as well, but just having a little bit more agency. Yeah, and I feel like if Shanks has been one of your more consistent carries, Galio's not going to be the champion that you want to necessarily put him on and put more faith and resources into your side lanes. But Anyone's Legend, another high mechanical execution comp that they need to pilot and get a win for if they want to try and find a way to claw this series back. Otherwise, ThunderTalk could be looking at a 2-0 sweep with a relatively another simple execution composition to find. Let's take to Summoner's Rift between ThunderTalk and AL for Game 2.
Right, Raafaa. Grubs are going to be huge this game. You're playing Gnar in top lane. Should be able to get prio easily. You have so much setup for this Nefiri. Tarzan has been near unbeatable on this champion this year so far, and this is a game that he has to carry. Like, if there's ever been a game that we have seen from him to be able to go like 1v9 super MVP form, you have every single tool. You have so much setup from your lanes. Twisted Fate has point-and-click CC. It just feels like it's going to be perfect here. So I need to see them get grubs. I want to see AL attack these side lanes and generate gold leads because we get down to 5-on-5s. I do think that TT have a better composition for that, but if we're talking about generating gold, abusing the bounty systems in this game, I think AL can do a lot of damage that way.
Breathe has only picked up one standout performance this game so far in the regular split. On and Feather taking advantage of the fact that they are double ranged into Ziggs and Camille, pushing them back, whereas Keshi gets in the face of Breathe despite being in Mega Gnar form, trying to make things very dicey in the top lane, which I'm not sure how early Kael is going to be able to break out of this lane, especially with all the pressure that On and Feather are putting down, but if Breathe can keep Keshi enticed, might be an angle there. Actually, a lot of these lanes are already very volatile.
Yeah, you get push in bottom lane. It is just level 1 Ziggs versus level 1 Seraphine and Ashe. Not much for you to do in that instance. You also got the cleanse, which I think is pretty important. But you're taking early recalls, and I look at where both junglers are. They're pathing towards bottom lane, and then we saw the hawk shot. They know that Tarzan's on the bottom side of the map. I think this was really intelligent coming in from ThunderTalk's bot lane to get this recall in now. And from this point on, we'll see what coverage on the top side of the map is going to look like because Kael is also recalling. Home guards just means he can answer any one of these lanes, whether that's mid lane or it's top lane. Seems like he's going to walk back towards bottom lane, and we maybe see something around, not this mid wave, but the one that is currently spawning out of base right now.
Like the Junhao is very well in tune with his lanes, recognizing that a lot of them wanted to get cheetah recalls in, so he takes a base himself after full clearing, which he was ahead of the pace against Tarzan, concedes the bottom crab, but he can always get to the top crab, and now he has a decent stat advantage with the longsword and ruby crystal, whereas Tarzan took a pit stop for a longsword. So Junhao was probably hoping that he could try and get into the face of this Nefiri and take away this Raptor camp. Call the pack used for the extra movement speed boost as well as the damage, but Tarzan still has a smite available, secures his second Raptor respawn.
It's really tough for Nefiri to really contest that, so the fact that Tarzan did end up getting most of those chickens is pretty nice, and Rise just kept it frozen, and this is what I was talking about. Kael now gets to answer. Heru still has flash. This is really tough for Kael to land.
Just goes in with the tactical sweep slow, recognizing that Shanks is a little too low to follow up on any engage that he starts off, just gets him the shove.
Twisted Fate does not have any damage early, right? This is a champion that needs 2-3 items right after he gets his Lichbane and he gets his RFC, then he gets to play. We've also seen Twisted Fate start to optimize for Imperial Mandate because it means that your gold cards just come up that much quicker. And the vulnerable is obviously extremely nice. But again, those are things that are going to delay the game. And do you want to try to be the 3-item Twisted Fate facing off into 3-item Rise? Me personally, not really. I'd rather play Rise.
Yeah, I think it just puts an onus on AL that once they hit this first item around Nefiri, they have to very much play towards the top side of the map. Get this Gnar, get this Neri snowball going so that as Shanks continues being more of a utility bot, that won't matter as long as Tarzan is running the Rift and Breathe is taking up a lot of ThunderTalk's time on the side lane split push. So, Dragon spawns here at the 5-minute mark. Not necessarily either jungler here would love to spend too much time. They don't get to burst it down quickly, something like a Vi can accomplish here. So I imagine that both of these junglers are just going to continue farming up a storm, and we'll see some action around the grubs in 3 minutes from now.
Junhao does seem like he is going to have level 6 a lot sooner, so that could turn into something. I see a couple of pings towards mid. There's always the potential now that both of our mid laners have ultimate that they just decide like, hey, we're going to run down bot lane and just look what we can get for it. Tarzan, this is very fake. Just cheap shot damage down onto the enemy mid and gain yourself some kind of priority versus this Ryze. I think is a decent look, even with Kael still in Fog of War.
Decent pressure. Breathe also getting a lot damage down onto Keshi in top side with the second Scuttle Crab respawn occurring. This is the one that all junglers like to fight for so that they can guarantee level 6 off of it. Feather and Heru are a little too late off of the quick visit from Tarzan here.
That's basically a play where you're 30 seconds already past when you're able to do that. Look at this invade. Really smart wards coming in from TT just to avoid that. It's also the Destiny being popped by Shanks. I assume that is a Destiny that is merely just to get vision and see if they can creep on forward. Maybe if TT had decided they really wanted to fight for that, we'd obviously see Shanks there first. Just, hey, they pulled the trigger. They said, hey, we're going to get damage down in mid. We're going to go and invade. They don't get any of the camps, but they get the timers there, and they get the topside scuttle like you're mentioning. Really, really important. It gets Tarzan back in range of Junhao, who we both see both of our junglers hit level 6.
Yeah. I can appreciate the restraint and the discipline shown by AL there. I think if this was game 1, they might have just sent it and said, F it, we bowl. But they've learned quickly to not disrespect ThunderTalk in this series now that they are down in 1 game. So, Grub spawning in the next 40 seconds. Heru trying to fight for priority against Twisted Fate while he still has the push advantage here. Ooh, Kael forced to flash away from that Crystal Enchanted Arrow.
We're 30 seconds away from Grubs. I'm going to say for now that is a win for AL. The flash from Kael being missing does suck, but not having that arrow ready for the Grub spawning in 15 is a pretty good find. And now we're going to be seeing resets. It is going to be Seraphine who is out on the map first. Heru, who doesn't have teleport, will have to either ghost or realm warp back into mid. And that just means that AL will have first look into the river here. With Twisted Fate just being able to lean in, and Neferi is likely to be over here soon. I think that TT making pit stops in mid is a little dangerous. Again, it makes them second to the play, second into river. It seems like they're going to try to cheat by using the Ash Hawk shot to cheat and see who's there first.
The fact that they're sending Heru to the bot lane is interesting, that they are almost banking on AL to not contest Junhao for the Grubs early on. And so far, they're guessing right. They're making a play on the mid lane instead, make an Inferno Bomb over the top, but no true commit from AL onto On. Allows them to back off the play without burning too many tools there. Tarzan able to now walk over to the Grubs and find that there's still 2 left.
Okay, they got 1 Grub. They take away the fact that there's 3. Not the best, but it's as good as it's going to get in this situation. Keshi, you've got to be careful. You know the Neferi is topside. We know that Camille can be here. You're going to now lose a lot of your turret. I think that was a very big mistake coming in from the rookie top laner. He might actually just lose all of his turret. I see 3 people, potentially even Shanks coming up top.
Ha ha ha! And Kael successfully cancels the base of Keshi, so now he's going to be in even more Spain without the S, as AL continue to facilitate Breeze's lead in the top lane with his Gnar pick.
That's huge. He's up basically 15 CS and also has a turret plate, so it's another 120 on top of that. Really, really nice. By the way, also picked up Kael in this matchup, so he's just eking. He's squeezing more gold per gold out of these minions. It's a small lead here for AL, but I do think that ThunderTalk getting this dragon is nice, and we have really yet to see any kind of volatility. We're at 10 minutes in, and it's an even gold game.
I'd imagine that's fine with some of the champions that AL have on their side, right? I mean, this Neferi doesn't necessarily get going super fast into the game until she at least has a Voltaic Cyclosword. And most of the time, it's once you get your Black Cleaver that you become kind of that very terrifying dog to deal with in team fights, but you can try...
This is how I know you're a jungler, Raafaa. Because as a laner, when Neferi with Brutalizer walks into my lane and hits me with double Darken Daggers, I still die. but you're like, oh, I gotta wait for my item spike. Sister can run me down very easily.
You know, that is very valid, and I guess the way I always measure it is how many items do I need before with my ultimate I just one-shot someone, and that's the benchmark right there. But you are correct that even with the brutalizer against a squishy target, even if I don't one-shot you with my ultimate, if you don't have friends, you're not going to be able to get away from me regardless. So
yeah. So there's the Voltaic Cyclosword. So there's the power spike we wanted to see. We're getting closer to our Rod of Ages for both of our mid laners. I do sense we are going to get a fight around the top side scuttle, but both of Junhao's laners are taking recalls or in not great positions to contest. So likely another turret plate to breathe. Maybe this play that goes absolutely nowhere quickly as we come into mid.
Doesn't hit the arrow, doesn't even hit the volley, as Shanks was able to hide behind the minion wave for protection there. But the presence of On and Feather arriving in mid lane allows Junhao the grace to try and go for this crab, unless Kael decides to send it. Breathe is about to dissipate off of this Meganar form. The Encore slows his engage, but cannot save their jungler from getting out alive. The Hound's Pursuit reset allows Tarzan to prey on his opponents, and ThunderTalk lose 2 in the blink of an eye.
Oh, and it gets uglier just across the map there. On walk down towards the bottom lane, he gets zoned off of it and now loses 2 plates on this lane. Actually, I want to kind of see how much more On can get from this turret because AL just exploded in the gold lead. They even get their bot lane quest completed here, so this is going to be a large... They just went to 3,000 gold because 3 people's quests went off all at the same time.
Yeah, this is tough for ThunderTalk. You are walking into the scenario of a Nefiri getting a snowball going, and whenever Tarzan is able to pull that off, it is very rare for him to lose a game afterwards. So, ThunderTalk, good luck. We'll see you at the end of the game and see whether you guys are able to come back from this deficit or not. We got second dragon spawning in 1 minute and 40. Rift Herald coming up in 2. It's not like ThunderTalk are limited in their abilities to make some plays around the map. They have a lot of tools available. They just gotta pick their targets correctly.
Yeah, they're just behind on quests, and yeah, mid-jungle now pops here for ThunderTalk. They're gonna likely get their AD carry quest popped within the minute. There it is. This dragon fight could completely equalize everything, right? If On gets a couple of those kills, suddenly now that bot lane quest is gonna give him more gold for every one of those takedowns. You're back in the game, but you still need to get a recall in, and he walked to the bottom lane wave, backed off, never even touched it, lost 3 plates on the turret. And I'm looking at Hope already completing his Luden's Companion. They could potentially trap On underneath this turret. They've got Shanks fogging into bottom side, and they even brought Kael and Tarzan here. The longer they keep them from recall and getting back to this turret, the easier it is for them to be able to hit this turret. This is where I think Hope kind of gets shafted. I kind of wish that his jungle and support would just walk up and let him hit this turret with auto attack passive and W and just take this whole thing. But because of that, they're just going to get the wave. It's Dragon in 30 seconds, and TT have decided to shift their bot lane pair into mid lane instead.
And while all this is happening, Breathe is still just slowly chipping away at that top tier 1. So even if AL don't knock out the tier 1 anytime soon, eventually Keshi is going to just lose out on pressure against this Gnar, who Breathe has just consistently been able to push him around, force him to take bases, falling further behind in CS and in gold now. So we'll see whether Keshi can survive much longer in this matchup.
This is where the game gets really interesting, Rafa. A 3,000 gold lead at 14 is really big. Junhao throws out the Aegis. Should be fine since there's no Satchel Bomb anymore, but that essentially means no Dragon is available. And when are we going to attack the side lanes? I kind of prepped that as a win condition for both of our teams, and while AL have not necessarily done that, I think they've definitely been better at moving their champions around the map, getting the waves that they need to, chipping away at turrets, whereas ThunderTalk have tried to get some fights. I think they've tried to cut some corners and have found absolutely nothing. It is going to be first turret now taken down to 15 minutes, and that's now going to be another 500 going over to AL.
TP is available for both top laners here, Breathe just timed out on Mega Gnar form. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes wide, but forces another flash, this time out of hope. Kael engaging onto Heru. Locks him down with that Hex Tech ultimatum, but Tarzan doesn't want to go in just yet. Mega Inferno Bomb, decent chunk, but good block by Junhao with the Aegis. Now Keshi getting involved with the Counter-Strike. Tarzan looks for the first reset, gets the second Hound's Pursuit, but not enough to be able to finish off on. It's Breathe that comes up huge, picks up the double, and forces the flash out of Feather as he was trying to scoop him into the wall. AL continue to climb in the gold lead.
We just don't have the consistent enough damage, and Pantheon is kind of like a carry champion through the jungle. He has a lot of upfront burst damage, and as long as he's ahead of the curve, he feels invincible. Once he is even or behind his opponent, that is where we start to fall into some issues. Rod of Ages completed here for Heru, but he does not have enough damage. We saw that Keshi even joined this fight, but the flash from this Twisted Fate just kept them alive. This is my problem. We need to be getting these flashes before these objective fights come up. And look at this engage coming in from Kael. Junhao and On do not feel comfortable walking up. They're saying, oh, there's a Ziggs ultimate. There's all this damage. There's Keshi who is now, or there's Shanks who's joining this fight. Tarzan is completely untouched until the very end of this, and On has to flash out and still dies anyway. Meanwhile, I'm watching my solo laners on ThunderTalk, and they just don't have the damage right now. So, as ThunderTalk, I feel like we are just behind the 8-ball, and AL have a composition that love fighting like this, love fighting on 1.5 items.
Keshi tried to do his best, trying to arrive first to the party before Breathe did, but this guy was left alone to fend for himself against Breathe, and also was forced off a turret when Tarzan and Kael came up and canceled his base. So ThunderTalk didn't do any favors to try and bail out the top laner out of a very, very hard matchup. And I think you're right to criticize ThunderTalk a bit here for just the lack of proactivity when you have so many global tools at your dispense here.
Didn't see a Realm Warp early. If you want to counterpoint it, you can say, well, we didn't really see Shanks do... Oh my god. Ashe ultimates this game have just been... Oh my... Oh, alright! Alright! Can we kill Hope?
They got Hope!
Hey! We did it! It just took 3 ultimates, and all 3 of them were in different provinces. But that's okay. We got it to land. We're going to make our way for this Herald. You kind of need to win this fight if you're TT. Otherwise, this looks really bad.
Low-key, I thought Feather flashed in the last fight, so when I saw the Flash Encore come up, I was very surprised. But this Rift Herald trying to be started up by Junhao. Still secures it, Kael, with the Hex hookshot flash. Starts up the play, and Kyle's going to be the first one to potentially fall, but Tarzan is more unhealthy enough to try and finish off the Pantheon. But Junhao is almost immortal on this Pantheon. Shanks finally gets a chance to finish him off, is waiting for Tarzan to rejoin the fray, is trying to call upon his dogs to just make things happen as Hope TP's back in from the grave, and now it should be somewhat easy for him to finish these 2 members off, but
Heru, please.
He is not hitting the bombs, and Heru and Feather are making their way out, and Tarzan might just not be healthy enough to follow them in pursuit.
That was such a messy fight. Junhao getting the Triumph feeling and then getting a Sunder Sky proc. Just keeps him topped up at the very end there. A lot of gold going over to AL for that fight, even if it's the Herald in trade. Long-range Camille ultimate with the hook shot there. And in the picture-in-picture, Keshi's dying on a side lane, so that 3,000 gold Gnar has not been answered whatsoever. And Heru missed a hell of a lot of overloads. This fight would have been over so much earlier if he didn't miss like 5 of them. That was 2 already here in this fight. We're going to see another one coming through. There's one on a Tarzan that he doesn't land. There's another one, so that's 5. We didn't even get to see the other 3 that he misses next. So skill shot accuracy is starting to diminish. We're seeing a 5,000 gold lead. If they can kill Breathe, they get a nice shutdown. But we've just completely ignored this Gnar. I kind of feel bad for Keshi in this matchup now.
Yeah. Called it out earlier before. ThunderTalk have done nothing to try and bail out Keshi or give him some relief in this matchup. He is just doing the best that he can to weather the storm, and unfortunately that storm is becoming a little too brutal for him to endure here. So AL, even if some of these fights without Breathe are getting a little sloppy, This Gnar is achieving the win con in the split push so far now that he is making up a majority of the Panda's gold lead right now.
This is a team that still scales. I look at ThunderTalk and I'm saying, okay, we're getting items onto Seraphine. She's 2 levels up right now, and levels on this champion are very, very relevant. They've essentially tried to make her a champion that is very reliant on hitting certain breakpoints like level 11 and level 13. But then I look at these items 2 minutes before the before our Rod of Ages are completed. We've got 2 items on 80 carries and our junglers. I feel like all of the mistakes could very easily be rectified if we make good plays.
I think that's the first time I've seen ThunderTalk try to bail out the top laner. Breathe gets hit by a multi-man encore. Tarzan and Breathe both forced to flash the hell out of there. Or at least it was just an eviscerate from Tarzan. Breathe actually using his summoner spell there. But ThunderTalk investing multiple members. Finally paying some love to Keshi's Jax.
We're gonna need more love, though. I went to the Love Factory, and they didn't know where Keshi was. They didn't even know who that guy was. We need more love. He is still down 3,000 gold, and I really feel like if he had the same items or a similar item, count as his opponent, they might actually get that kill onto him. But there's a Sterix gauge. You're not beating that. There's a Wit's End coming as well, so any of that magic damage that starts to come through, that tenacity that's available as well, just makes it that much harder to kill this guy. So that bounty is becoming increasingly important, and it's not like we have a dragon stacking that either of these teams can really fall back on. So Herald's going to be spawned in mid. TT need to make very good on this play, otherwise we're going to keep falling back into that same pattern we've been talking about for them. Oh.
Destiny from Shanks spots Junhao and Keshi on the wrong side of the tracks here. Breathe knows that the backline from ThunderTalk is isolated. Heru might be in trouble here. Tarzan, the Hound's Pursuit, gets a lot of damage down. Keshi walking up with a counter-strike, but cannot get in range to leap strike to anyone to land that stun.
Oh, Herald does nothing. The Destiny actually got the flash out from Junhao, so he doesn't get to play. Very quickly, this game has gone from good to very, very good for AL. I didn't even realize that Tarzan is 2.5 or a level and a half up on his opponent right now. So very, very well fed on this little dog here. And the game is not getting easier, Raafaa. The game is getting actually quite the opposite. It's getting very tough to play for TT.
Oh, absolutely. ThunderTalk, as many of the tools that we give respect over that they have in their arsenal here, the problem is that they're not really being proactive with it. A lot of these arrows have not connected onto targets from on, and I feel like ThunderTalk are not making that job easier. They're almost just kind of fishing and saying, oh, if it lands, then we'll go for it. But you have Pantheon W, you have Rise Rune Prison. You can try and get these ultimates to actually chain and sequence together a lot easier if you want to lead with some of your basic abilities, but ThunderTalk are a little too scared, and the time to have done that was when the gold lead wasn't so massive, and now it's a lot more difficult here with Baron spawning. Arrow, once again, it's a field goal.
Right between the uprights and a little to the left. Just not able to do much here. And so now AL get to play long lanes. They feel very safe when they're playing these lanes, especially this Gnar, who again is so far ahead. He gets to be on a side lane the entire game, and he knows they actually don't have enough, and if they do try to find me, they don't have the damage to kill me, at least not fast enough before my team is able to generate pressure on the opposite side of the map. And I think it is becoming more and more frustrating for TT because they don't have the ability to take any of these turrets, or haven't been able to prior to this, that basically AL always gets pushed. That is an insane cancel. Doesn't turn in anything. That is crazy interaction.
If I'm Junhao, I was definitely scared there. But they're going for Breathe now that he's in mini-Gnar form, but Kael immediately jumps onto On's face, and Tarzan will sink his fangs and ravage the back line. The rest of the Pandas starting to do away with the front line as Shanks gets jumped up by both Heru and Junhao, trying to see if they can turn around any kills while Tarzan comes back to reap the rewards. Now ThunderTalk doing everything they can to fight back, and Junhao manages to pick up a double in the aftermath.
All right, we started hitting items. Keshi has been sitting on tunneler coalfields for what I feel has been the last 5 minutes. What is he going to be able to buy with it? Sundered Sky has been completed. All right. And that means Azonias should be up next. This is a good fight here for TT. It took them way too long. And with no Meganar available, this is as good as a fight as it's going to get. We talked about a lot of the ultimates not landing, but the most important part here is getting this kill onto Breathe. And then look at where the damage dealers of AL are. Hope is by the Raptors pit. Tarzan is trying to kill On, who's already been focused down. And because all this damage is going into a Seraphine that's basically next to her turret, it allows for this top side of TT to actually thrive. And Jax is so good against these immobile champions, especially a Twisted Fate who's essentially entirely reliant on his auto attacks. And Heru's landing those overloads. This is where it starts to kind of pick up. I was thinking, you know, like, yeah, they're powerful, but AL are already kind of making the game really easy for themselves. That is a fight that starts to build confidence for the TT fans that, hey, maybe there's still some life here in this game.
Yeah. Picked up a couple of decent shutdown bounties there, both on to Breathe as well as Shanks, which cut into the overall gold advantage that anyone's Legend had for themselves. You can see it indicated in the gold graph there. They still have nearly 4K gold ahead of ThunderTalk at the moment, but it makes the game a lot easier to come back from now in this position, and some of these item spikes that were desperately missing from some of the ThunderTalk solo laners now have been achieved here. Thunder Sky and a Seeker's Arm Guard, so Keshi can at least look for a big play with going into the stasis.
Ooh, and Heru even finishes Actualizer. Such a big spike for the Rise. Twisted Fates also hit those 3 items, so everybody in chat, this is where you get to pick your side. Do you want to be 3-item Rise, or do you want to be 3-item Twisted Fate in this kind of game? He has the extra range, and the amount of damage that's available to him is really nice, but against the 3, this Actualizer item was literally purpose-built for Rise, so yeah. Imagine how much easier this game is, by the way, if some of these Ashe ultimates start to land as well. That, I feel, is like also part of the gold lead. This is a 4,000 gold lead, but it can be so much smaller if On starts tweaking some of the aiming on the ults.
Also, if you're a TT fan, you're hoping that Heru lands at least 50% of these overloads when he gets into range.
Bump that number up. Let's get 75. Let's do 75. let's have some self-respect.
Let's see 3/4 of these overloads hitting. Anyone's Legend currently having control of the bottom side river. Shanks, though, cut off from his team, has to deal with the minion wave pushing in. This is overall the 4th dragon of the game. And AL are trying to buy as much time as they can for Breathe, who just timed out a Mega Gnar, so now is not a good time. Junhao sending it into the backline, looking for Hope. Encore stunned up, and the flash to guarantee the kill onto the bomb Yordle. Tarzan and Kael trying to make chaos into the backline. Breathe arrives to the party and finds on quickly, but Tarzan is starting to lose his health rapidly. Breathe finally goes into Mega Gnar form, but it might have just been a little too late. Junhao and Keshi strong enough to hold their own. Breathe goes back in with the blast cone, but Tarzan has left the battlefield. Breathe now has to make the hell out of there and force the flash away.
Shanks can teleport for this. This might not be the dragon here for TT. A fight that does go in favor of AL, and likely is still going to get themselves the dragon. Tarzan's just going to be able to heal thanks to double darkened daggers and the 3-item Nefiri. Damn, he looks good on this champion. That was a very close fight there. If that Ziggs bomb doesn't immediately blow up on, maybe there's a bit of a play there. I want to go back into that fight and see how Heru died, because we were hyping up this Rise. He is very tanky. I didn't really expect him to die that quickly. The Ashe arrow lands. That's what we're asking for, okay? Alongside other things. Hope dies, but we're really overextended into this play. Also, Keshi teleported extremely late in comparison to his opponent.
I'm counting the overloads that Heru hits.
Well, he's dead now, so 0 from here on.
Yeah, 0 from here on out. But out of the 4 or 5 that I saw, he did hit 3. So he tried to do damage. He just died really quickly, which was honestly quite surprising and not expected there. But for ThunderTalk, imagine if Heru is not caught in the crossfire between both Breathe arriving in Mini Gnar form and racking up a lot of auto attack damage. Might have been a different story here. ThunderTalk still having to climb back from this deficit as AL try to stabilize, now with 3 dragons on their side and 4 minutes away from a Kentech Soul. Rest of ThunderTalk taking up position on the top side.
They're a little split, but it seems like they're leaning towards the upper side of the river. It is on vision as they cross through, not quite warded out. I think TT are not really looking to finish this Baron. They want to try to get some more summoner spells, but there's flashes available for 4 members of AL. It'll be impossible to land in Ashe Ultimate, and all of this chip damage from Twisted Fate and Ziggs is going to be impossible to deal with.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Junhao trying to look for hope, but he gets away just fine with the Saptor Charge and throws a Mega Inferno Bomb right over the top. Tarzan finding the first reset on the Junhao, and ThunderTalk just threw away any chances of trying to come back into this game with the botched team fight. Kael finding a beautiful hookshot flash to close the distance onto On. Keshi, one last stand as he goes golden, but he's not slaying any demons anytime soon. Anyone's legend triumphant in the Barren River.
Yeah, that fight was terrible. I have no words for that. We just sent it in on no conditions, no ability to actually generate a fight. Sure, you got 3 of the flashes that I was mentioning that were up, but you just gave over the Baron, and that timer's going to sync perfectly with this Dragon, now with an 8,000 gold lead here for anyone's legend. Confusing stuff all around. The Ashe Ultimate doesn't land. We're looking on Breathe, who just now has Meganar. Shanks just hits the perfect Seeker's Arm Guard. Like, none of the damage is
targets here too.
Look at where Ashe is. Ashe is in Super Narnia right now. She's not even in the normal Narnia. We have no damage. Like, AL just got gift wrapped a game.
And credit to the Pandas for being able to punish a very poorly coordinated fight from ThunderTalk, but yeah, that is honestly quite disappointing, especially considering how ThunderTalk played into AL at the beginning of this series and showing a lot more discipline in the fights that they were finding. This time around, it just seems like there was almost no sense of synchronicity there. The Bluetooth was turned off in what ThunderTalk wanted to do, and I feel like comms just went off. Junhao said, "I'm going in," and closed his eyes, and everyone was kind of just forced to pick a target.
He just closed his eyes and he pressed R on the minimap and he just goes, "Take the wheel. LPL, take the wheel." Just whatever happens, happens, okay? After this point, there's nothing I can do about it. It happens again.
Arrow goes wide. Kael locks down On with the Hextech ultimatum. Shanks going golden, stalls out the fight. Junhao at least will get 1 kill for his troubles, but this GA will be popped, and his life will not be long. Anyone's legend will deal away with the last threat off of Keshi's Jax, and with the Baron buff on their side, they can even up the series.
Dude, Heru just sent with a Realm Warp. He just put On in the middle of 4 members of AL.
Oh my god, I didn't even see that.
We can't do that, guys! Like,
you know, I was wondering why On was there in the first place. Like, I don't remember Nash being there, but you know what? I'm not here to ask questions, but Brother Heru must have sold out his 80 carry, and that is depressing. Anyone's legend, though, might not have enough to close out this game just yet. 3 seconds on. I take that back. 4 empowered siege minions whittling away at the Nexus. Tarzan's gonna pad the KDA even more. Goes into the fountain. May have died, but doesn't matter. AL tie up the series.
Dude, this is not the last time. I think their last series DT played, they had a very similar Rise game. They lost that game as well, by the way, where Heru like TP'd on top of. So On, I think I remember the scenario. On is in the middle of Jin Ultimate. Heru stands next to him and ults him. Heru has On cancels his ult and walks out. I don't know how to. I don't know how to explain this. This is just madness. Madness coming in from TT. At a certain point, they just like put their hands up and they're like, whatever. The game's done. Just send it. Get us out.
I am I'm going back in the VOD because I need to see this for myself, because I don't think we're going to get a replay of that last fight.
Oh, we're definitely
soon.
getting a replay of the last fight.
I mean, we'll get
I don't want you to spoil it for yourself. I want everybody in chat to also enjoy it with us.
Okay, fine. But if we don't get it, then I will be expeditiously watching it in between the breaks. But the last two fights from ThunderTalk were just a massive letdown. Happy for AL to lock back in and play up to their form, for sure. We, as LPL broadcasters, we know that when AL are at their best, they are one of the top 3 teams of the LPL, and given their history and what they were able to accomplish in 2025, they gave one of the best challenges to the eventual world champions in T1. And while this AL is a slightly different iteration now, no longer having Flandre and no longer having Tabe in their coaching staff, a lot of the core members still exist and still have their strengths that they can bring to the table if they're able to show their peak form at the right time. And that game 1 loss was just, quite frankly, very disappointing from the Pandas, and how disrespectful they were and just not consistent enough in the mechanical execution required. But this was at least a pleasant showing for us as LPL fans.
There's just a lot of things that went wrong in this game. Like, we did not actually destabilize the side lanes. I think Keshi, for some of the hype moments we get from this guy, he's a very weak lane. I don't want to say he's a weak laner, but he definitely gets picked off a lot. I remember a lot of the early times in this year, we saw him actually get solo killed. I even remember the Birtle game where he's getting solo killed twice in lane as the Gnar versus Jax matchup. And this is the matchup that, as long as Gnar doesn't misposition or use his hop in a disrespectful way, you will get ran down with lethal tempo, and the Gnar basically takes over. And we kind of saw that, even if there wasn't any individual solo kills. Gnar just had a free lane, and we never went topside. We never went to go dive this bottom lane. We didn't use the globals to cheat around the map, and that has always been, I think, something that ThunderTalk and a lot of our LPL teams are able to take advantage of. So another game loss kind of feels bad, especially because I really like this draft from ThunderTalk. I think if we have, we take the nameplates off, I still feel like they're able to win this game. They have better chances, but really awful fights, and it's coming, Raafaa. I'm aching. I'm jonesing to see it.
Going through the highlights right now, and I am waiting
Show me the realm
with
war.
bated breath. It has to be after this fight, because this was the first of the 2 terrible fights from ThunderTalk. All right, chat.
Give it to me. Oh my God, he's still in it. He's still.
Okay, you know what? I think that's partially On's fault. Because
he's taking the most direct way to get into the fight, man. His mid laner just screwed him.
But he had plenty of time. I guess if he's just not looking at his character model, then yeah, that's rat behavior from Heru. But I thought Heru or On was just like totally fine, chilling, like I'm walking away, and then Heru right from under him says, "See ya." But he set it out in front of him, thinking like, hey, do we want to get into this fight quickly? And I felt like On had the agency to determine for himself whether I want to get in this fight or not. And
the worst part about that is Heru doesn't even get in the realm war with him. That's how I feel like it's a little rat behavior.
That part is definitely,
you didn't even come and hang out with your 80 carry. You just sent him into the void. And then we're just like, I guess the fight's already over, guys, so I'm going to go back to base.
You know what? The narrative we can settle on is that Heru said, On, let's get into this portal together. And he's like, okay, cool. And Heru's like, psych, that fight sucks. I'm not getting
That fight sucks. I'm going to go hit the mid wave. I'll see you later, brother.
I think between Heru's Realm Warps this split and Bulldog's Realm Warps, we've seen some atrocious ones. But yeah, that was tough. Shout out to Breathe. We were we were kind of talking about how Breathe has yet to really consistently show up as a standout performer for anyone's legend as the newcomer to this roster and breaking up what was a very, very long tenured 5-man between Flandre, Tarzan, Shanks, Hope, and Kael. But Breathe gets the Gnar. They even had the choice of counterpick with the Jax, and he did just fine into it and picks up the Pog for it.
I didn't even sneeze. That's how OP this AL draft was. Well, we'll see what they're able to do here in game number 3. Is this another series where TT end up 1-2, or are they able to make the bounce back? We'll see after the short break.